then step by step by step work this way over to the East Coast, and then I'm sure we'll cross the ocean here pretty soon. Do you have a question about this?
Well, where does well water come from?
Well water is premature water. So well water is sitting in an aquifer underneath the earth. What we're doing is we're drawing it up prematurely, and it doesn't want to be drawn up prematurely. See, that's the thing about spring water that's so amazing, is that it's actually coming up mature when it wants to come up. So what's happening is that well water will actually drag you right back down to the ground. It will cause forces to come alive in you that are gravitational. So let's talk about that a little bit more. There's a force of levity and a force of gravity. This is how disturbed our thinking is. But see, this is thinking that never disturbed Rudolf Steiner. He was not fooled by this, neither was Schauberger, and neither were most people who had any senses. But we've all been fooled by the public school system and the whole Einstein theory that gravity is a force that really matters to us. And actually, levity is the force that matters. Newton, remember his whole business? Newton said, oh, why'd that apple fall from the tree and hit me in the head? Here's what he didn't ask. How did it get up there in the first place? Which is a much more powerful question. The answer to that question is the answer to calcification. Because what we want to bring alive in us and create in us is forces of levity. And what we always are trying to do is remove toxins like gravity or reverse a toxin like gravity and turn it into a force of levity, always, in every metaphor of what that means. And that's why when I get on this thing about mushrooms, I'm not joking around. That tree levitated itself up. It fell upward. It is doing something that violates every law of physics we have. Everything we see every day, all day long, violates our law of physics. This is what drives me absolutely nuts. Like this whole theory of entropy, what a bunch of gobbledygook garbage. If there's entropy is the law, then how can there be a newborn baby? How can there be any growth at all? But yet these are the theories that dominate science, and they dominate health as well. And that's why we have this health crisis that we have, because our theoretical constructs are disturbed. What Rudolf Steiner said is that you could take substances that have a tendency to levitate, silica in particular, and you could make silica come alive again, bring silica into your body, and actually it brings you structural integrity. It brings you juiciness back into your joints. All of Steiner's medicines were all silica medicines. They're all silica medicines, which are levitational substances. Silica is the one thing that was in that. Remember that message that we sent out on the Voyager spacecraft with all the different symbols of our planets and what humans look like? And remember that whole thing? And then there was an answer as a crop circle. In that answer, it said actually you missed one of the minerals you're made out of. It's called silica. They actually said you made a mistake. Now, I don't know what you think about crop circles, but that means a lot to me because I know about silica, and so did Rudolf Steiner, and so did Victor Schauberger, because silica is part and parcel to spring water. Calcium, calcification, high iron levels, inappropriate types of calcium-forming bacteria that form shells are part and parcel of well water. But spring water, silica.
Spring water, the difference between the two is if something's coming out the ground, then it's spring water. Is it?
Right.
Well water,
you have to tunnel it down. Now they trick you a little bit because they say artesian well. Comes from, or no, here's the big one, artesian spring. What the hell does that mean? Have you ever looked into this? This is hilarious. Artesian spring? Here's what an artesian well is. It's the old bucket, right, where you have the tube dug down with stones on the inside, right, so the whole thing doesn't collapse in itself. And then you have water underneath because there's a high water table, and there was always a high water table in the British Isles when there was forests here. As the forests get cut down, the water table retreats into the ground, retreats into the earth. So the wells have to go deeper and deeper and deeper. That's common sense, folks, but yet there's nobody in that industry who even knows what I'm talking about. That's common sense. You put more trees in, the water table comes up. You cut them down, the water table retreats. That's how deserts form. If in the desert, there's water there, but you've got to go way deep for it. Now, when you have an artesian well, it means you have one of those big circular things with a bucket, and you lower it down, and you get that. That's an artesian well. The wells we have today are like 200 feet down, because there's no forest left, so now we can't have an artesian well. We actually have to have that, so we have to dig it 200 feet down. An artesian spring is absolute BS. It doesn't mean anything. It just sounds good. Like, oh, here's our artesian, look, here's our artesian spring water. There you go. Doesn't have any meaning at all. It's just nonsense. Spring water may have calcium in it, may have other minerals in it, but when you get into the highlands, the higher the mountain ranges, the less of that dissolved solid you'll find in it. And as you go higher and higher and higher, the purer and purer and purer the water gets, because in order for it to levitate up higher, like in a tree, because a tree is an exact metaphor of a spring water system, hint, just throwing that hint out there, And you go, whoa, what do you mean? It's like the interface of the atmospheric gases, which is actually at the leaf surface. That's where the spring pops out on the top of a mountain. And the spring is an eye, as Rudolf Steiner said, to the universe. And it absorbs all the cosmic data, come right into the spring water at the moment it pops out of the ground, and it's imprinted in the water, and the water flows down the hill, feeding everything. If you've studied David Hawkins' work on this, and his theory of consciousness, 0 to 1,000, 1,000 is Buddha and Jesus, like 200 is kind of like where we are, and like 100 is like Hitler, then you probably may be able to get what I'm about to say. If you start testing the levels of consciousness of springs, you're going to get numbers of 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, 4,000. Because a spring is pure love. It's pure consciousness. It is imprinted with all the data of the entire environment, and then goes down the hill and feeds absolutely everything. It feeds everything. It becomes nourishment for everything that exists in that ecosystem. That's why the spring water piece is so big. The eye to the universe is also an exact metaphor of our first breath. As soon as you breathe your first breath, you are imprinted with all the astrological data that comes into you, and that's why the birth moment is the moment. It's not the 49th day of conception, after conception. It's not the moment of conception. It's the birth moment. It's the moment you are interactive suddenly with the atmosphere, and you go, and you take in your first breath, just like the water. As it comes, it interacts with the atmosphere, and actually it mates with the atmosphere. And if you study this long enough, and you look at spring water, you'll see what's called the water multiplication effect, where the water comes out as a dribble, and then all of a sudden it's a whole stream right there within 10 yards. 10 meters down, it's like a whole stream. There's a whole thing going on. Because the atmospheric gases have mated with the very female earth water element and created water on the spot. Or another way of saying that is the hydrogen has been hit with the oxygen. And if you hang around springs long enough and you smell, you'll find out that they're rich in ozone. You'll feel that sense of it's rich in ozone. It's like there's ozone will find the spring point preferentially and go after it. Just like a man is going to go after a woman. Right? It will find the spring point and will go after it. This is a very important idea. That intersection of the atmospheric gases with us, in us, is called our alveoli. It's the surface of our lungs. That's our own springs. What's the number one cancer? What is it? Lung cancer. Because what do we do to our springs? We cover them up. We redirect them. It's because the way we treat our water is so poor, and the exact metaphor is exactly us. And actually that metaphor in a plant is its leaves. So what do we do to those? We trim them, we cut them, we actually choke the tree off. We don't allow it to leaf properly or produce enough of a spring activity. That magnetism that draws the substances out of the inner earth right to the surface of the leaf is how a tree constructs itself. And the tree is a complete metaphor of the entire process. And it's the xylem and the phloem. The inner waters are drawn up, they're oxidized by the leaf, and then they go back down the outside. The xylem and the phloem of the interior bark and the action of a tree and how it grows. That mystery, and solving that mystery, is actually what creates for you levity. And when you get into levity, you get out of pain. There ain't no more pain. I talked about this the other day. The shoe is causing us to be in agony. We don't realize it. Anybody has any pain, I don't care how long you've had it. Anybody here ever in pain? Go lay on the grass, naked. Get completely on the grass for an hour and your pain will be gone. That's a guarantee. I don't care how long you've had it, you've been at it 20 years. Go out on the grass naked for an hour and whatever pain you have is gone. As soon as you get back in the house, get back in the shoes, the pain comes back again. As soon as you get it all out again, get back on the grass, the pain goes away. In nature, there can be no chronic inflammatory pain that lingers. There can be chronic inflammation, but no pain. The pain is caused by a runaway free radical reaction that's never shut off by the Earth's own electricity. Try it out. This has been tested. We actually do this in our events where we ground the whole event, like our longevity conference. We ground the whole event. So at every seat, there's a ground available to you. You put that wherever your pain is. Let's say you had a pain in your hand. Let's say you have arthritis in your hand. You put that on your hand. Within an hour, your pain is gone. Doesn't matter if you've had that pain for 20 years. What pain is that's chronic, that's been there, that lasts, is a chronic runaway oxidation reaction. Or basically, it's caused by shoe wearing.
So David, what about the weather then, in regards to the climate we have here?
Let's talk about weather in this piece. And this is a piece that I really feel I owe to Victor Schauberger and to Rudolf Steiner. And that